When I look back to life pre-lockdown, my life had routines and structures designed to organise and make sure everything happened. That work happened and school happened, that we shopped for the things we needed and had food on the table, sometimes shopping for things we may not actually need. But it was to help us to know where we had to be and when, so we could meet our responsibilities and obligations and occasionally build in some fun. Yet despite the good intentions of these routines, it really ended up as general busyness, meaning there were important things that often got squeezed out. We longed to get together with friends and family more often. The garden often looked neglected, and finding time to help someone that we knew needed our help sometimes was just a stretch too far, and then we'd end up feeling guilty. Life really felt more busy than organised, and time with God could suffer too. Now we're in lockdown, of course we all have different pressures, juggling homeschooling with work or caring responsibilities, multiple Zoom calls a week, perhaps the struggle of how to stay busy if we're living on our own, or a mixture of the above. But when things are forced to change, it means we're no longer in a rut, and it's an opportunity to take stock and find a new perspective. I know that we have quite a bit of juggling in our house between work and homeschooling, Owen and I trying to take turns, but not having to commute has freed up quite a bit of my week, and I've had time to spend with my children that normally I would struggle to find, and even appreciate paper jewellery made by my son. I've learnt to appreciate the value of connections, whether a socially distanced chat with a neighbour on the street because I haven't seen them for ages, or a virtual catch-up, and I've noticed that somehow a screen no longer is such a barrier to those connections. I have a number of friends who've also said that they're decluttering their homes during lockdown, and they're looking forward to the tip opening so they can offload the things that they've decided they really don't need after all. Having our lives stripped back has felt harsh, but it does give us an opportunity to rethink what's really important and make some conscious decisions about how to handle our relationships in this season and whether we really would want to go back to the way things were when the restrictions are lifted. In the Bible, it talks about us being made complete with all the fullness of life and power that comes from God. But by fullness of life, I really don't think God meant cramming in as much as possible, but instead probably to focus on what's most important in life. Hebrews 12:1 and 2 says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. And let us run with endurance the race God has set before us, and do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith." Studies indicate that the very act of giving back to the community boosts your happiness, health, and sense of well-being. Connections with others can spur us on. I've loved hearing people's testimonies online and hearing the stories of people reaching out to others and volunteering to help during lockdown. God's reservoir of love is unlimited, and drawing on the love of God and looking for opportunities to show God's love can lead to real meaningful encounters and build us up and help us to find the fulfilling life we can sometimes long for. Hebrews 10 verse 25 says, "And let us not neglect our meeting together as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near." We may not be able to meet in person, but I felt so connected with church family by being able to be part of the online chat on a Sunday morning during the streaming of the service on YouTube, keeping in contact with my huddle over Zoom, and the messages and virtual coffee that we've shared with our WhatsApp Connect group. It all spurs me on, and I would encourage us all to stay connected, and I pray that you too would find those moments of staying connected with people. I pray that we would all find God's grace in these challenging times, to embrace this new normal for however long it lasts, and to see how we can build each other up, reach out to others that need our help and encourage them so that in this most unlikely time we can find life and life in all its fullness. I'd like to finish with this passage from Ephesians 3 as a prayer. Let us pray. I pray from his glorious unlimited resources, he will empower you with inner strength through his Spirit. Then Christ will make his home in your hearts as you trust in him. Your roots will grow down into God's love and keep you strong. And may you have the power to understand, as all God's people should, how wide, how long, how high, and how deep his love is. May you experience the love of Christ, though it is too great to understand fully. And then you will be made complete with all the fullness of life and power that comes from God. Amen.